Hello, welcome to the Treat Your Business podcast. I am so excited that you are here listening in, and a massive hello and welcome to our new listeners that have joined us this week. So here's what normally happens. We run for about 30 minutes. We give you loads of action-packed insights, tips, valuable stuff that you can go and implement in your clinic. And today is no different because I am joined by a guest speaker today. Nichola, who is our COO in Thrive, is probably the most process-driven strategic person I know on this planet, is here to help you try and create more structure and give you more time and freedom back in your business. And I genuinely think if you can just give us your time, give us your energy, give us your presence for the next 25 minutes, it's going to make a massive difference to your life. You're going to feel much calmer as a result of implementing some of the stuff that she is going to share with you. So without further ado, let's dive in. Welcome to the Treat Your Business podcast with Katie Bell. I am Katie, and this is the place to learn the strategies, tactics, tools, and mindset needed to build your clinic or studio into a business that gives you the time, money, energy, and fulfillment you want and deserve. My team and I work every day with overwhelmed and exhausted clinic owners like you to shift them from a business that is a huge time and energy drain and is not giving them the income they want, to confident clinic owners that are making money, saving money, and getting time back in their lives. So if this sounds like something you want, let's dive in. Okay, so let's dive into processes, systems. What the heckers do they mean in your business? Why do you need them as a clinic owner? I am so happy to introduce Nichola to talk about this because she's the queen of a process. She's the queen of a system, much more systemized than I am, because I am one of those typical visionaries that ideally would like to have no systems and processes because I think they're all boring. But Nichola loves the process. So Nichola, welcome to the Treat Your Business podcast. Thank you for being here again.
Thank you for having me again.
You're welcome. Nick, for those of, because we've got lots of new people listening to us, tell them who you are and what you do in Thrive.
So my name is Nichola Page and I am so that's Chief Operations Officer. The official title, well, what my key role is in Thrive is to make sure we are running operationally efficiently and profitably, making sure we've got the right team in place, pinpointing where our gaps are, plugging those gaps, coming up with solutions, taking Katie's vision and just making stuff happen in a swirl.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So for many clinic owners listening to this, whether they are a sole trader, maybe they're just starting out, or we've got clinic owners that have been in business for more years than they wish to remember, and they've got lots of team. The systems and processes are absolutely essential at whatever level of business you are at, aren't they?
They absolutely are. A process is simply the way you do something, and it's going to be unique to your business, and it will be unique to your business as it grows. So everybody running a business of any description has a set of steps, if you will, that you follow to do anything. So steps that you do to attract new patients in, to get them to convert from an initial patient over to a follow-up, to how you process payments, to hiring team. That's the process. All of those little miniature things, those steps are what we call processes. So you all have them. And some you might have a very small number. And as you get bigger, the idea is actually you don't have a huge number of them. They just get delegated to other people. And you might tweak them. If you bring in a new system. Now, a system, the difference between a process and a system is that system is usually the software that allows you to execute the process, or a platform that you're using. For example, if you're using a booking system, so your patients book in via a certain system, whatever that might be, that's your system. But there is a process that you follow once that patient is then booked in. So there are steps that need to happen. So that's the key difference between a process and a system. And regardless of what size your business is, it's important to understand what they are and take them out of your head and document them. Not like we don't have to write War and Peace, but if they're just in your head, particularly if you have people working for you, then you're bottlenecking the growth of your business if they remain in your head or if they're just in another team member's head. If they're off, or if you decide you're going to take a week's holiday, who knew that you could take a week's holiday? But let's say you did, having it out of your head stops people then constantly sending you WhatsApp messages or trying to get hold of you. Oh, how do you do this? What do I do with that? Because you've taken everything with you on holiday in your head, and nobody back in the clinic or studio, whatever you're running, knows what they're meant to be doing because it's not been documented. So that's the significance of them.
And I think people listening to this are really going to resonate with that, Nick, because one of our biggest challenges as clinic owners is taking an unplugged holiday, because we feel like if we do, I was talking to somebody on a call yesterday. It was a wonderful client who's looking to join Thrive. And she said, I literally just can take no time off because I have to work twice as hard leading up to the holiday. We then go on holiday and I've now got an associate working for me. Actually, they just have to ring me all the time and ask me about what to do with this and this. And then when I come back, there's 100 million things to do. And I think this is crucial for clinic owners. If you want more time and you want more freedom, we've got to get it out of your head.
Yep.
And not necessarily have it on a piece of paper. We could have it on a video. We could have it on a dictaphone, a voice note. And it doesn't have to be like a beautiful checklist that's all fancy, which I know you love, Nick, but it has to be, you just have to get it out your head.
But even those, Katie, like you just yeah, I do. Having it documented is great. However, some things are not great to be documented as in a written typed format, because some things you need to be able to watch a video to understand how it's done. But that might also be going into micro detail of how-tos. So just to start with, you need an outline of the process. So as an example, it might be, let's use that initial patient visit as an example. That is a crucial process in your business, new patients. Now, that is one of the first things to document. But it might be as simple as, so the system takes care of the booking. But then once that booking is in, and you get a notification. So its notification is received by who? Does it come into reception? So that's step one. And then step two of that might be a confirmation is sent. Now the system might generate that, but that is still a part of the process. Email, text, whatever it is, sent. Step three might be reminder, email, text. You might do a phone call prior to it. So that might be reception team to call new patient. So you're just bullet pointing the steps. And so you follow that all the way through to fact, okay, so patient now arrives. So it's meet and greet new patient. Are there certain things that you would like that new patient to have? Are they given offered a cup of tea or coffee? Are they offered water? Are they given something when they first come in? What's the expectation of that? Because that's the process. So that it's replicable by whoever is meeting and greeting. The same thing happens every time. And then you move into a new patient now meets the therapist. What's the process that the therapist needs to take? Yes, of course, all sessions are going to be different because it's down to whatever the patient is presenting with, but there will still be a process. You don't have to go off into a tangent on this is what you need to say. These are the words that no script. We don't need a script at this point. We just need bullet points. So it's easy for your team to digest it and go, okay, I need to do that first, then this happens afterwards. That's the process.
And then it gets us, I guess one of the other things we hear lots of clinic owners challenged by is managing their team. And they say to me, they just don't bloody do what I want them to do. They don't do it every time I want them to do it. And we say, until you've told somebody 7 times, they've not heard it for the first time. And have you got a process? Is there anything that they can refer to? Some people need that visually, don't they? Some people can look at that once and take it in and are process-driven people. But a lot of our clinicians if we come back to our colours, our therapists tend to be yellows and blues. Now, yellows are very low detail, so we need to be told a million times this is the process and follow it. Blues are very high detail people, so they love to be told exactly what it is. And then there's an expectation of how you behave as a therapist in that company, rather than kind of left to figure it all out. You can still be you, and you can still put your unique blend into it, but that helps our clinic owners manage and lead their people in a better way, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And another reason why processes are important is because if there's ever let's say something doesn't go right, there's a challenge in your clinic, there's going to be one of three reasons behind it. It's either it's a system problem. So maybe your booking system is messed up. It's not done what it needed to do. It's going to be a process problem. The steps that needed to be followed either weren't correct or something was missing, or there's a people problem. So if you don't have a process in place, you can ordinarily jump to thinking you have a people problem, that you've got the wrong team in place, for example. Now, you might have, but if you don't have a process that they understand and that they can follow, you're actually letting them down, because how can they possibly know? They're not mind readers. They can't know what's in your head. You may have verbally said something to someone on their onboarding, their bit of training. That's never going to sink in. You know your business inside out, upside down. They don't. So if you don't have a written process, even if it's bullet pointed, as I said, how on earth can you expect them to fully understand what your expectations are?
Yeah.
And then, so if you have got it documented, you can, and something doesn't happen, and you've identified, all right, it's not a system problem. The software didn't fall down. Something happened in the process. If you then say, did you follow the process? And they are like, oh, no, I didn't do that. Now you do have a people problem, because they should have followed the process. But if they then say, oh, no, I did follow the process, but it still didn't work. Now you have a process problem. So now you can identify what step was missing, was maybe it's out of date, the step, or maybe you just need to make a tweak and now it can work. So as you grow and you start to have team in place, having documented processes will allow you to identify what your problem actually is in the business so that you can fix it and move forward. So that's, for me, that's a huge reason to have processes.
And I'm thinking here, Nick, as well, about the types of listeners who will be tuning into this. And let's say that we have a listener that's a sole trader, they're on their own. They may work 3 clinical days a week. They've got kids. They're busy mom or dad and trying to juggle everything and fit everything in. And they're listening to this thinking, well, it's only me. So why do I need a process? Why do I need a system? Because there's nobody else going to follow it. It's just me that's accountable to myself. And having worked with lots of these types of clinic owners, Nick, a lot of them are time poor. A lot of them are very overwhelmed. A lot of them are juggling a million plates. And for them to have a process that they follow, even though it's only them in the business, is really powerful, isn't it? From like you said, what happens when a new patient comes in? There might be certain elements there that you've got to add them to this mailing list because that kicks off your nurture sequence. So it might be that you've got to remember to send them the invoice because you're still the person in that seat doing the invoicing. It helps you just be like, I don't have to think. I just follow the process. I've got a tick box, a checklist that sits with my clinical notes, and it takes that pressure off, doesn't it?
It does, and it will also prevent things from falling through the cracks, because particularly when it is you're juggling so many balls, it's really easy to be 2 weeks down and I think, oh damn, I forgot to send that invoice out, or I didn't chase that payment up, and now you're experiencing the knock-on effect of that, and particularly around all the financial side of things. And so if you have a process, a checklist, you go, okay, I do that. Did I do that bit? Yep, done. It takes it out of your head, and it means things to get action. And it also stops those moments in the middle of the night. I don't know if you've ever had any of these, Katie, where you think, to do that thing. So by having a process there that, and just think of it as a checklist, it will prevent them falling through the cracks, but also what it can help you to do. So let's say, for example, you're getting new patients in, you're getting inquiries in, but for some reason, you're not getting them in booked into follow-ups as much as you would like for whatever else is going on there. And it could be a number of things happening there. But by having a documented checklist process, whatever you want to refer to it as, also can allow you to go, what am I missing here? Does that work? Or, and maybe you've heard something on the podcast that Katie's recommended or somebody else has said, in this part, we do whatever we do, and that works really well. You can then look at your process and go, am I doing that? Where does that fit in? Then you can introduce something to it and then measure the results from it. So it stops things falling through the cracks, but it also helps you to look at how you can make some improvements.
Yeah.
And pinpoint where the improvement is needed.
And I think what then can be helpful in the next level, which is often when we are working with our clinic owners within Thrive, and they're desperate for more time. They're juggling too many balls. They've got the name in too many seats. They're doing everything. We've all been there. Is that we start to look at who they need in their business. Who is it that they need to support them? Now, when that first fabulous person comes on board, whether it's a therapist, because that's the biggest need right now, or whether it's an administrator, what tends to happen is that they show up and you just hand them all your shit on a plate and be like, so this is how we do things here. And it overwhelms the people that you've got coming on board. It doesn't give them a good onboarding experience. But if you've got even some processes down and you can hand those to your VA and say, so this is how I have been doing my new patient onboarding, or I would love for you to help me improve this, but this is a start. It gives somebody kind of the knowledge to be able to get going rather than just feel like they've been dropped in the ocean and they've got no idea how you do things and what your expectations are. So it's actually going to help in the long term with your hiring, isn't it?
Completely. But, and also, that's great if you've got something a bit documented. But the other thing is, it doesn't have to be you that does this. So let's say you have identified your first new hire is an admin person. There, you don't have to go on in order for them to then start. I've got to write all these processes out to give to them. No, you don't have to do that at all. So if you've got the right person in that, particularly in an admin type role, what you should be able to do is say, okay, I'm going to sit down with you for an hour and I'm going to talk you through the things that I want you to start taking over in the way that I do them. May or may not be exactly the right way. You might see that there's a better way to do it, but record what you're saying. So if you just if they record it on their iPhone, whatever, so you're just talking it through, then that person can then take that recording and then document it for you. And as they are documenting it and executing it, they will pinpoint whether there's any gaps.
Yeah.
Or whether something does work or not. Because at the moment it's in your head. It's going to be easier for you, particularly if you are a yellow, for you to then just voice it. Just say it as it is and let them document it. Because I think that's half the battle. Because people, when am I going to find time to sit down and start writing? And then you find the time, you open up your laptop or whatever and start and go, oh, what is it I do? And then before long, organising the paperwork on your desk seems more important than documenting what you've been saying because you're stuck. Whereas if you have a conversation with someone and you're recording it, it's going to flow. That's another thing. You don't have to write these all out yourself. Absolutely not.
People that are in the right seat, in the admin, the PA, the VA, the operations manager, UNIC, you love this stuff. That's how you are wired, isn't it? To make chaos into an organized process and a system that is repeatable, that is measurable, that works well within the company. And we've got 3 fabulous administrators that work with us, Kelly and Shelley and Charlotte. That's a mouthful. But I can say to Kelly and Shelley all the time, so this is happening. Can you make that better? Or can you just put that into the process for me? Can you make that happen? That's the word I use all the time. And Shelley and Kelly, because there are two process-driven people, will come back and go, yep, no problem, leave it with me.
Yeah.
And it feels great from the business owner because I can trust that now it's going to be added into the process. I can trust that it's going to happen and it's going to happen on a repeatable basis. So you don't have to then micromanage people because that is dreadful leadership style.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can, people come back and say, oh, how do I do this? And you've got something documented. You say, what does it say in the process? Follow that and then come back if there's still more questions.
Yes.
Rather than your nature might be to jump. You might think, oh God, let me just show you. Let me just do it. That's the worst thing you can keep doing is to just do it. She says, note to self. But yeah, and these things have to be reviewed. Like we are literally in the process now this week, today, with the team, we're starting to review some of the process that we've got because there's still some of them are a bit too clunky still. There's too much, or we actually want to make some improvements. So we now need to review the steps that are needed to see what we're going to do to make the improvements. So they're updated constantly as well.
It's like a working document, isn't it? Then it's not like a set and forget. You might set and forget for a few months, but you don't want this to just be gathering dust on your desk.
No.
It needs to be something that you're using and you're following and you're reviewing and updating and improving, like you say.
Yeah. And I wouldn't have it as like a printed years ago. I remember I created a great big manual, ops manual. No bugger read it. I didn't even look back at it. It was a huge amount of paper. We used gazillion trees to put them together. But actually, every time you update them, that means you've got to print off more. I wouldn't have them in a physical format. I'd have them that you basically on a OneDrive or Google Drive so that people have got access to it. And every time they're updated, everyone has got access to the updated version. Gone are the days of needing a physical printed hard copy, crazy, great big, where you put your mug on and stuff.
Do you remember you used to have coloured folders, didn't we? You would have had purple folders. I would have had pink folders.
Indeed.
Yes, with all our colourful inserts and post-its and all those lovely bits of stationery we all used to have.
I do miss it because I'm a bit of a geek for stationery, but they do not serve a purpose.
No. Okay, so now let's go to a clinic owner that's had a business for a lot of years. They might be stuck in a bit of a cycle of feeling like that they're just chasing the tail, they're on this hamster wheel just going around. And they're probably very frustrated by everybody around them right now because they're not following the process or they're not doing it as they want them to do it. But they just don't know where to start with it because it feels like, I know this in my clinic, we're a massive clinic, we've got a lot of team. And you can look at it and go, I just don't know where to start with this. I just can't possibly. And so it doesn't become a priority to the clinic owner. And we go another year and we've still got no operating manual for their business. What would be your advice there, Nick?
So is to identify let's say to start with 3 to 5, up to 7. 7 is maximum. I would say start with 3 key processes.
Okay.
That if these processes were documented and followed by all the relevant people in your team, that means your business would now operate and move forward. For example, one of the key processes might be, or will be, how do you attract new patients in? That's your marketing. What's that process? Then another one will be, okay, so we've attracted them in. What's the process what the new patient one I referred to earlier on? So they've made their initial booking.
Yeah.
So you could call it a sales process, or you could just call it your new patient process. What's that process? Because if you're attracting, your marketing process is documented and followed by all, and people knew what they needed to do, that is the oxygen of your business coming in, isn't it? New people coming in. So that I would if that at the moment is not working well, or it's primarily you doing everything in that, and you need to start to hand it over, that's where I would start with that one.
Because this is what we're going, loads of clinic owners are going to be sitting here thinking, but I'm not doing any marketing. I'm just relying on word of mouth. It's just been fine for ages. So the point here is you've got to fix that bit.
Yeah, if you absolutely just relying on word of mouth, that might have served a purpose up to this point. What they've got here is not going to get you there. So you might identify and say, okay, we actually don't have a marketing process. So I would say that you put that on your priority list for it's a to-do. It's something that to be looked at, and you might need some help to work out what that is going to look like. But at least you've identified that's a big gap. So if your word of mouth dries up, I'm going to be going off into slightly off into a tangent there, but if your word of mouth dries up, you haven't actually got a process at all. So now, whether you've got a process for new patients to convert them, if you haven't got a marketing process, you're not going to get them. But start with, I would say, to get a flow of it and to start handing things over and get consistency in your business, I would start with that new patient and the initial patient process.
It's
so
crucial.
That everybody's doing the same thing.
Yeah. We put this slide up, didn't we, on Clinic Growth Live? It was a massive bucket and it had got holes in and there was water spilling out the holes. The processes are like your plasters. Not your plasters, they're like actually permanent fixes, aren't they? Almost to those holes. You will probably find when you write that down that you will go, oh my goodness, we're missing out on all of this here. We've just spotted this has gone wrong, or it will just doing this might be a bold statement, but this will make their business more profitable. This will impact their revenue and this will get them more time and freedom back in their company and in their life.
Yeah. Otherwise, the rest of it is almost like you could say it's by luck that it's working right now.
Yeah.
They're probably, but it's so important, particularly if you've got people working for you. Right. This is such an important thing to do. And even more if let's say you've got a couple of therapists working in the team, and one therapist is great, their diaries are always full, another therapist not so much. By documenting it, you might find out that the therapist whose diary is not as full is actually, I didn't even know we were meant to do said thing. You've made the assumption that they know because maybe you told them once or twice. So they think, I told them, so therefore they should be doing it. But having it documented might go, okay, I'm not doing that. I don't do it that way. Now I know I'll do it that way.
Yeah.
Or you might have a high performing therapist says, I actually do it this way. And you might go, oh God, that's a much better way. Let's put that in then.
And we had a clinical training session this week with my client care team. And I was talking to them about the 3 parts of the brain and sales conversations and what they need to be aware of in terms of the brains that they're talking to when they're maybe upselling them a package or whatever it is. And one of the client care team said to me, we need to know that the therapist has definitely had the conversation with them in the room before they come to the reception desk. And so therefore for us, it was like, okay, we need to bring that into the process, that it's an expectation. It's part of that end of session wrap up so that our reception team can trust that they've had the conversation. So when the client comes down, they can say, so the physio will have talked to you about our 5-session program, which is our Kickstart program, and then we're off. And we've got that same energy that's left the treatment room and being met at reception, rather than, did the therapist say about when they might want to see you again? And it just sounds shit. It just sounds like we don't know what we're talking about. So this is, even in my business, we're constantly evolving and adapting, and this will plug massive gaps for clinic owners.
Yeah, completely. It's all about refining, improving, and efficiency, isn't it? That's the thing.
Yeah, and that's what we want. That's what we want for our clinic owners.
Yeah. And I know not everybody enjoys a process, but they are so important. The process.
Exactly. I feel I can't believe I'm saying this is a yellow. I feel a little bit excited about processes after talking to you.
Oh my, this is being recorded. I have
Remember,
just said it. I can't tell you sometimes. If I could just stop your eyes rolling from the back of your head whenever I talk about a process, remember you're excited about what I'm about to say.
oh yeah, you're going to have to remind me about that. Okay,
Win of the year so far, that is, Katie.
really, but you can have that. Saying the 16th of January, so you're allowed to have that. You're allowed to have it. So, Nick, thank you for imparting so much of your knowledge, because this really makes a difference. This podcast is all about sharing valuable tips, valuable insights, things that they can grab hold of and do. And it doesn't have to be big. It could just be one process this month that you're going to put in place. That's all it needs to be. And that will make the start of something new and different in your business.
Yeah, absolutely. Just do it.
Just do it. Just do it. Nick, thank you so much for your time. Please come back again and share even more of your amazing knowledge about how people can make their business run more operationally efficient. Please come back.
I will. Whenever you want me, I'm here.
Thank you. Thank you.